Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about my first experience at UTPB being an adjunct professor and what I've learned being a university adjunct professor. Before we get to the content, please be sure to like this video. Subscribe so you can get more content in oil and gas and professional development topics, and please be sure to comment on the video below so I can incorporate your feedback into future videos. Please be sure to hit that notification bell when you do subscribe, because I upload whenever I want. Well, let's get to the content. So here's the backstory. When I moved to Midland in 2018, I wanted to have some sort of teaching gig on the side to give back to the Permian Basin, to give back to Midland. And I reached out to UTPB to see whether there's a possibility for me to be an adjunct professor while I was working full-time at an oil and gas company. Well, one of the requirements in order to be an adjunct professor is to get your master's degree. So I was in the middle of getting my master's degree from Texas A&M University in 2018. I was pursuing my master's of science in petroleum engineering. And I thought, okay, well, why not I wait a couple more years to get my master's degree and let's see what shows up. So in 2020, got my master's degree. And then 2021, I reached out to UTPB again saying, hey, if there is any opportunity to be an adjunct professor, can I do it? And they said, oh, well, we'll keep in touch with you. We'll keep in touch with you. And then it wasn't until 3 years later, fast forward to 2024, where I get the email in May saying that, hey, there's a petroleum data analytics course that you can teach. Are you up for it? And I said, yes, I am up for it. So that's how I ended up getting the gig. It made it to be a virtual class. That way I don't have to travel everywhere from my CrossFit all the way to the other side of town. And then it's going to be at a time where it's going to be after my working hours, so 7 o'clock. So that's how I ended up getting the gig, and that's how I ended up being accommodated for all of the time and for my schedule. The first thing that I learned about being a professor, an adjunct professor in general, is how much work it is. There's a lot of work that is put into your lesson plans, to the curriculum, to see how the students are going to perceive it, and all of the things. There's a lot of work that goes into it, especially if you have to start from scratch. That is one of the things I wish I did. I wish I knew when I was starting this job. I thought there were pre-made materials. I didn't realize that there was a lot of things I had to learn, that I had to integrate from my experience in updating the curriculum. So that was something that I had to learn, and it was very much building a plane while flying it, which I hope the students didn't figure out. And some of them are subscribed to my channel, so they're gonna know. Y'all are gonna know. It was a lot of work. The second thing I learned about as far as being a professor is how much you need to engage the students. It could have been because of the time at which the class was set up. I mean, if it's after a long and busy day of all your other classes in school, and then you did some studying, and then you have the 7 o'clock class. So I can understand why some of the students need some help being engaged with the material, but also the fact that it was a virtual class made it difficult for the students to or for me to gauge whether the students were engaged with the material or not. So that is something that I learned, that it did take a lot of effort to get the students engaged. But once I did that, once I started asking a lot of open-ended questions and started asking questions in the class and would say, like, I'm not going to move forward unless someone answers the question, and it doesn't have to be the right answer, then I got a lot more engagement from the students and I got a lot more feedback. And usually you have to start with something. You have to take a stab at it first before getting the feedback from the students. And that's what I realized. You just have to take that first step forward, and then the students will follow. The next thing I learned about for being an adjunct professor is how much the students enjoy data analytics and how much they picked it up. So I sent out a survey at the very beginning of my semester with a survey of like how much experience you have with Spot, or how much experience you have with Python. Almost everyone said little to nothing. And the fact that they are able to do 3 projects, advanced level projects with millions of lines of code or millions of lines of data impresses me. The first project that they did was their emissions correlations. It's like correlating different types of emissions and predicting the different types of emissions from each country. Next project that they did was predicting oil and gas log data that's missing from 1.6 million lines of data in a gas reservoir in Europe. And then the next project that they have to do is develop a reservoir development plan. And to think using Python packages and becoming fluent in Python is something that they've picked up immediately. The fact that these students have learned so quickly makes me really, really happy that they were willing to learn, they were willing to invest the energy, and they're willing to complete the task when they step up to it. The last thing I learned in being an adjunct professor is how rewarding it is. I knew it would be a rewarding experience trying to upskill engineers, undergraduate engineers. For example, in the previous point, I said that in their survey, they had little to no experience in using Python. Now they were forced to use Python, they were forced to use a certain number of packages, and they were forced to work with messy data sets. And the fact that these students were able to learn on their own and take the challenge on their own is a very rewarding feeling for me. And the fact that I get positive feedback on how good the class is and from other students and how it's a class that they look forward to in their long and busy day brings me a lot of joy. So however I can give back and pay it forward for the other students has been an enjoyable experience for me, at least, and I wouldn't trade it for anything else. Well, folks, that's everything that I wanted to share with you as far as what I have learned in being an adjunct professor so far. As usual, please be sure to like this video, subscribe so you can get more content in oil and gas and professional development topics, and please be sure to comment on the video below so I can incorporate your feedback into future videos. This is Yoga Shri Pradhan, or Yoshi Pradhan, and I'm signing off.